Hey, Girl Scouts, it is Brooke. I'm a program manager here in Girl Scouts of Western Ohio's Southern region in Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank you all for tuning in with me this morning. Today we are going to be doing a super fun macrame workshop to earn our senior textile artist badge. So I'm super excited for some folks to join in. If you are joining me live, go ahead and put in the comments your name, where you're from, and what kind of crafts you've been doing during quarantine if you have done any crafts. We'll wait for a couple more folks to join in. So if you're just joining, we are going to be doing the Senior Textile Artist badge today by making a macrame hanger. And go ahead and write in the comments where you're from, your name, and if you've been doing any crafts during quarantine, what kind of crafts you've done. Savannah is here watching. Hello, Savannah. So nice of you to join. Isabella from New Hampshire. Very exciting. Thanks for tuning in. We have a friend from Puerto Rico. That's so exciting. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Alice from Centerville. All right. And for those of you that are just tuning in, we are just waiting for a couple more folks to hop on. So if you want to write in the comments your name, where you're tuning in from, and if you've done any arts or crafts projects during quarantine, what arts or crafts projects have you done? It looks like I have some more comments. We have Sabina from Bluffton, Pepper from Fort Myers, Savannah's from Florida, Anne from New York. Alex says macrame is the perfect craft for you. I agree. That's really exciting. You've been spending a lot of time working on your houseplants. Chloe from Findlay, Anna from Centerville, Amanda from Georgia. Super exciting. All right, it's been a couple minutes, so we will go ahead and get started. So thank you all for tuning in. If you missed my intro at the beginning, my name is Brooke Breckenridge. I'm a program manager here for Girl Scouts of Western Ohio in our southern region located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So today I'm going to be working on the Senior Textile Artist badge. The senior badge is for girls in 9th and 10th grade, but this is something that you can do with all ages. You just might need some help from an adult working on some of the different knots. So in case you didn't see it, we are going to be working on a macrame hanger today to complete the textile artist badge. So the 5 steps of this badge are: first, to choose a textile art. We're going to do that today. Find your tools and materials is step 2. Again, we are doing that today. Step 3, learn the basics. Again, we are doing that in this workshop today. And step 4 is make something for everyday use. We'll do that again today. Step 5 is to create a gift or item for a special occasion. This won't be covered in today's workshop, but you can use all the tools that I give you in order to complete that step. So for step 1, you can choose your textile artist by interviewing an artist that does a craft. So I don't exactly consider myself a macrame artist, more of a macrame hobbyist, but that's okay. I started doing macrame actually earlier this year. If you tuned in for my junior badge workshop earlier this week, you will know that I love plants. I have a lot of house plants, and I really love trailing and hanging plants. So I really like the look of macrame to put my plants in, but you don't have to use macrame hangers for just plants. So I'm going to show you some other things that you can put in your hangers a little bit further on. But that's why I got started with it. I find it to be a really relaxing and easy hobby. And my favorite part is when I started to teach myself macrame. I got the hang of it really quick because I was like, hey, I'm a Girl Scout. I already know how to tie all these knots. So if you've been practicing your knots, I know earlier this week we had a knot Facebook Live. So if you have been practicing those knots, then you are all set for this workshop. If not, that's okay. I'm going to teach you the basics. But we are going to be using a lot of the knots that you learn here in Girl Scouting, which I think is so cool. It's a skill that we usually use in the outdoors and in camping and things like that. But I love that we can use it inside in more of a hobby or a craft. So that's kind of how I got started and my story with it. Like I said, I'm totally self-taught. I have watched a lot of different videos on the internet and things like that. And I just love that once you get the basics down, you can really be as creative as you want with it. So that is step one. Step two is to find your tools and materials. So like I said, today we're going to be doing a macrame hanger. I did do some suggested materials if you're following along. So you should use cording of any kind. And I will say, if you haven't cut it already, I know I put out a message yesterday, but you should cut 6 pieces that are 6 feet long for our project. So I have my macrame cord. You can also use any kind of cotton cord, rope, string, yarn, jute, whatever you have at home to make this hanger. We can be super flexible. That's one of the funnest parts. So our second supply is going to be some tape. I have blue painter's tape. This is going to help us keep our project in place while we're working on it. And then our third supply or material that I said is optional is a wooden or metal ring. I have these little rings that I like to put at the top to hang them. This is not necessary. I'll show you how you can do it without it, but if you have a wooden or metal ring, you can go ahead and get that out for this project. The fourth piece that I didn't remember to put in, because in my mind it was self-explanatory, but now that I'm going back, I realized that you actually need this. So our fourth supply is scissors. A nice pair of scissors. I actually don't have very sharp scissors at home, so you'll probably watch me struggle with some scissors along the way. I'll just see if we have any comments about supplies or questions about supplies as we're going along. Hi, Erin. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, doesn't look like we have any questions. That's perfect. So step 3 is to learn the basics. And one of the ways that you can learn the basics is by taking a class. So today's workshop is going to be considered your class, your intro to basics. So I'm going to get my computer a little bit resituated, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, from those supplies, in order to create the hanger that we're making today, you will need 3 or 6 6-foot cords. Pepper said, I made a metal ring out of a hanger. Is that okay? That should be fine. You'll just want to make sure it's strong enough to support whatever you decide to put in your hanger. So that's a great question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get my computer a little bit resituated and show you all how we're going to get started. All right, so you won't be able to see me as well, but you're going to be able to see what I'm working on, hopefully. So I already put my 6 cords through my wooden ring that I'm using. So again, there should be 6 6-foot cords, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find the center of the cords and put the center right through this ring. Now, if you're not using a ring, a metal ring or a wooden ring, then you'll just want to gather all 6 of the midpoints together at the top, and then you'll just hang from that point. So I like to make sure on my ring all mine are all spaced out, but that is definitely not necessary. They can be on the ring however you want them. And then the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a little knot at the top to keep everything secure. So this can be just an extra piece of the string. It's not one of the 6 that we already cut, and it doesn't have to be super long. So I'm going to use red just because I think it's a little bit easier to see the red against the white, but you can use the same color as the cord that you're already using. So you can see with either if you're using the ring at the top or you just have your 6 cords, I'm using my right hand to kind of keep everything secure in place over here. So I'm just gonna lift up my thumb and I'm gonna place this other cord that we're adding in up there. And then I'm gonna keep everything tight up here at the top, and I'm gonna start wrapping that extra cord around all of my other ones. We want this to be nice and tight. This is gonna be a wrap knot that will secure the top of our macrame. Oh, wait, before we start wrapping, I'm so sorry, I got ahead of myself. So the first step, we're gonna just go back to when we put it under our thumb, and then you're gonna take it and you're gonna put a little bite in it if you were in our knotting workshop, or just a little loop. So there's a little loop down below. The piece that I originally put under my thumb is up here, and then the rest of it is up under my thumb as well. So now we are going to start wrapping around those 6 bundled pieces. This part can be a little bit tricky, so you might need an adult help. Hope you guys can see that okay. And for today's wrap knot, I don't want it to be super long, so I'm gonna only wrap a couple of times. So I've done 4 wraps, and that's good enough for me today. So now I'm going to take the piece that we've been wrapping and put it through that loop in the bottom. And then I'm going to go back up here to the top, this piece that I've been holding with my thumb, and I'm just gonna start to pull that tight. And there we have a nice little wrap knot securing the top of our hanger. So with your wrap knot, you can go ahead and make sure it's nice and tight in there. And then take your scissors and cut the 2 end pieces. And that is how we do our wrap knot at the very top. Is everyone following along with me? Are there any questions so far? It doesn't look like it. That's awesome. Okay, so now we've completed our wrap knot. This is the front, and the part where we pulled the 2 pieces together is going to be the back. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut those 2 little tails. And there is our wrap knot at the very top. So now that we have our wrap knot, we're gonna start to work with the bottom pieces. So one thing that I like to do is I just like to take my tape so that everything doesn't move around. If you have a coat hanger that's easy for you to reach, this is a really good place where you could do it standing up with a coat hanger. But unfortunately, for filming purposes, I wasn't able to do that today. Another thing that you can do is you can place this is kind of silly, but sometimes when I'm watching Netflix, I'll just put my loop around my big toe. I don't know if that was TMI. I don't know if you don't like feet, but Krista said, can you show the wrap knot one more time? Your hand was covering it. Yes, I can absolutely show it again. So I'm going to show a second wrap knot below our first wrap knot. So again, I have my extra piece of string. I used the red so that you guys can hopefully see it a little bit better, but you don't have to use a different color. So I'm going to try to do a left-handed wrap knot so that my hand isn't covering things. And I might have to move my computer around so that I'm not covering because I am right-handed. So you're going to take one end of your cord and you're going to hold it with your thumb at the top. And then you're going to have all the extra down below. Then you're going to make a little bite or a loop in the bottom, and you're going to take that up to meet where your thumb was the first time. So both pieces of the string are under your thumb here, and then you're just going to take your extra cord and you're going to start wrapping it around all of your extra pieces. It's difficult to do left-handed, but that's okay. So we're just wrapping it around Again, I have this little bite down here. I lost it a little bit. So I just wrapped that one 3 times. I'm gonna go around one more. So we have our little tail end up here. We have the top of our bite that we made, and then our little loop down here at the bottom. So I just finished wrapping 4 times around the rest of the pieces, and I'm going to take the tail end through the loop at the bottom and pull that nice and tight. And then I'm gonna let go at the top, but still kind of hold on to my bundle. And I'm just gonna pull the tail end that was at the top nice and tight, and then your knot actually will go right underneath the rest of the bundle. So I hope everyone caught on. Sorry that I have a messy chair over there. Will this video be available to watch later? Yes, you can watch at any point on the video tab of our website. So I'm going to take out the wrap knot that I just did because I already have my wrap knot up at the top. But that was just another little demo of the wrap knot for you guys. The wrap knot was one that I kind of had trouble catching on to, but then once you get it, you realize that it's pretty simple. So you might have to practice it a couple of times to get a wrap that you like. So as I said, I like to use my tape to secure my project in place. And then we are going to take all of our strings. We had 6 strings, we folded them all in half, so now we have 12. So we are going to use 4 different stems, or 3 different stems, excuse me, and those stems are going to be bundles of 4 different cords. So you're going to get, and it doesn't matter exactly what order you go in for this, but you'll just gather 4 of your different cords together. And then one thing that I like to do to keep my different cords straight is I just take a piece of tape and I bundle those cords together. So I'm going to bundle those ones together. We're going to work on one bundle at a time. And then I'm just going to put those ones kind of over to the side here. All right, right now I'm just separating my other ones and making sure everything's untangled kind of down at my feet. So here's my second set of 4. And I'm going to, again, take my tape and bundle those guys together because I'm not going to be working with them right now. And then I'll have one set of 4 left over. So these guys are all kind of over on my far side. So I am going to switch my camera around so you guys can see that better. And I'm sorry, I'm not a professional Facebook Liver, so I'm trying my best here. But anyways, now we have our little bundle of 4, and let's see what this guy's doing. It looks like I made them a little bit tangled, so I'm going to take away this bundle here. I'm just going to cut through my tape carefully, but you could also just unwrap it if you're afraid of cutting at one of your cords. And the things that we're going to be doing to make up the body of our macrame hanger are square knots. So again, as I mentioned, I was really excited when I first started doing macrame to find out that a lot of the different knots that you use are knots that I learned in Girl Scouting. So I think they'll be less tangled this way. Yes. I'm not going to tie those guys back together with the tape just for time's sake, but you guys know that the ones that you're not working with should be tied together with tape. So I'm going to take my little bundle of 4 here, and I'm going to get the 2 pieces on the outsides, and these are going to be the pieces that I work with. And then the ones in the middle are just going to stay flat, you're not going to be using those actively as you're making your macrame. So the two in the middle are just going to stay tight. And I have to kind of rearrange my ropes here to get those in the middle. All right, so our first step is we are going to make a square knot with the right side. So I have my thumb and then my fingers are holding these two pieces in the middle. I have my left cord over here. If you want to, you could even tape these two together because we're not going to be actively working with them. So these two are just going to stay put, and we're going to take our right cord and we are going to make like a little 4 right in front of those two middle pieces. So right now your square knot should look like a 4 with, I guess it's a backwards 4, but a little backwards 4 with those two pieces in the middle. Now we're going to take the left piece over those two. We're going to then take it around the back two pieces, and we are going to tighten our first square knot. Now, if we wanted to complete the square knot, we would reverse that, but for the top of my hanger, I really want to do a spiral technique. So I'm just going to keep making these right-handed square knots. It's a half square knot, I guess, but I'm going to do it slow again. We're again going to lead with this right side. The middle two are staying flat. So we're going to make like a little 4 or a little triangle here. And we're going to take the left piece directly in front of the 4. And then we are going to wrap it under that piece that we made into the triangle. We're going to go behind the two pieces in the middle and then through the little loop of the 4, and we're just going to pull them tight. Now, since we led with the same side twice, there's already a little bit of a spiral in my first 2 knots. So I'm going to do it again pretty slow and then see where we're at in the comments. So my right piece is going to make like a 4, a triangle across my middle 2. I'm going to take my left piece, bring it over the right piece, loop it around and back around the 2 middle pieces, and then through the triangle over here. We're going to pull everything tight. So if you've caught on to that, you can keep going until you get a nice spiral. You can do however many you'd like for this, and you're just going to keep going by leading with that right side for your square knots. If you're not catching on yet, I'm going to go ahead and check in the comments, kind of see how everyone's doing, see how everyone's following along, if anyone needs some help. So awesome. Will this video be available? Yes. Hello. This is so cool. I imagine a larger key ring could work. That's a great suggestion, Cody. If you don't have a metal ring, you can use a key ring. RJ said, can you please show that again? Thanks. So I'm going to keep going with some slow, can you do it slowly one more time? Yes, Pepper. I'm going to keep going slowly with this spiral knot at the top. So if you've already caught on, you can go ahead and kind of be speedy and go ahead of us. My workstation's so messy. I'm sorry, guys. But one thing that you'll notice as your project starts to come along is it's already starting to spiral and spin. So again, we're working with the piece on the right side. We are going to make like a backwards 4 here. We have a nice triangle, and our 2 middle pieces are just staying put. They're not doing anything yet. So we have a nice backwards 4. We're going to take our left string over the right string. So right now, the 2 middle pieces are behind the right string, and then our left piece is on top of the right string. So this is our right string, this is our left string. Now our left string is going to go kind of under the right string and behind the two middle strings. And then it's going to go through the loop of the backwards 4, and then we're going to pull it tight. Now, one thing with macrame is you want to make sure that you're pulling all of your strings the same tightness so that it makes a really uniform knot up here. The square knots are so confusing. Could you do them slower? Of course, I'll keep on doing them slower. So one thing that's happening is it's starting to spin a little bit. And technically, I think we're only doing a half of a square knot. We're going to do an actual square knot a little bit later on. So I've got our two middle pieces, and I'm going to designate our middle pieces with some blue tape so you know which ones they are. So it's hopefully not quite as confusing. So our middle pieces are these ones with the blue flag. Now we're going to take our right piece. We're going to make like a backwards 4 here. So we're just taking it at an angle out here, and you can even hold that with one of your fingers and then across those middle two pieces. Now we're going to take the piece on the left. Right now it's underneath the one on the right, and we're going to cross it over the top of the right piece. Excuse me. Allergy season is in our midst, here in Ohio at least. So now our right piece is still in that backwards 4, and our left piece goes over the top of the right piece, and then it's going to go underneath it and back around those two middle pieces. So this is our right piece here, and our left piece has gone underneath and behind our two middle pieces. Now to finish it off, I'm just going to pull it through our backwards 4 here and then pull it nice and tight. And if yours is starting to twist and spiral at the top, that means you're doing it right. I think you guys can see that. Mine is starting to twist up here at the top. So I'm just going to flip my key ring so I can keep going the same way up here. So slowly again, we have our backwards 4 over our two middle pieces. Middle piece is underneath. Our right piece made a backwards 4 over the top. We're going to take our left piece over the top of that right piece, and then we are going to tuck it underneath and behind those two middle pieces. And then right now, it's just under the right one and behind the two middle. So we're going to reach through our little backwards 4, and we're going to grab that left piece and pull it tight. So let's see how we're doing in the comments. The square knots are a little bit challenging to get a hold of. Hello from Alabama. So nice of you to join us. This looks like a Chinese staircase. That's so exciting. If you do the 4 on the same side, you will spin. If you flip it, it will stay flat. That is absolutely correct. And we are going to do a full square knot a little bit later on. How many square knots do we make? You can make as many as you'd like. You can either keep your spiral nice and short, or you can make it really long. That's the great part about this, is you can be really flexible with it and make it your own. So for time's sake, I'm just going to do a couple more quickly, and then we're going to move on to our next set of knots. So again, I'm continuing to lead with my right side because I want a spiraled knot. I want it to be spiraled at the top, and then we're going to do something else later on. So I'm just making a couple more pretty quick. I'm leading with that right side. Again, this can be kind of challenging, so it might take you a couple of times to get it right. And especially if this is your first time doing macrame or your first time learning knots, you might not get a hang of it the first time. It's all about practicing. Practice makes perfect, especially when it comes to a macrame project. And each time that you do a macrame, I think it gets a little bit better. And you know, get a hold of different types of knots that were challenging or difficult for you before. So it's all a learning process. It all takes time and patience and practice, but luckily, you know, we have a lot of time on our hands to practice things like this. So if you're really enjoying this workshop and you want to get better, I definitely suggest that you take some time over the next couple of weeks and you just practice your trade, practice your skill, and really get the hang of it. So we have that. I think that that is looking pretty good to me. It's got a nice couple of spirals in that top, and I probably did at least 25 knots for that one. So I'm going to take off this piece of tape for now, and fun news, we get to do it all again. So you're going to go ahead and repeat that process at the top of all of the different strands. So you can make your spiraled knots as long as you'd like, and then we're going to go ahead and once you're happy with kind of the length of your spiral, you'll choose another set of 4, and we're going to complete the same process. So I'm sorry that this is going to be a little bit of a repetitive video. It's a repetitive process, but it gives you more and more time to catch on. So I have my piece that I just finished over here. I'm going to take it off to the side, and I have a new bundle of 4 knots that I'm working with. Now I want to make sure they're all entangled. So again, I'm going to use a little piece of tape to designate those 2 middle pieces so that we don't accidentally pick them up and do our knots with them. And this is a good time to go back if you want them to be all exactly perfect. You can count the number of knots we did on the other one based on the number of bumps there are on the side. So we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That section is 6 knots. You can also just eyeball it, which I'm going to be honest is what I usually do. So again, we're going to start with our right side, and we are going to do all knots that start on the right. So we are going to make that 4 over the top of the 2 middle pieces. We're going to take our left string, bring it into or over to the front, and then we're going to bring it around, through, and tighten it up. Again, we're going to lead with the right, do a nice square or nice backwards 4, or maybe it's a forwards 4. I've been looking at it for so long I can't remember what way you make 4s. But anyways, we're going to make our 4. We're going to bring our left piece to the front. We're going to wrap it around, and then we're going to tighten it up. So you'll just keep doing that process all the way through until you have a nice little spiral knot that's the same length as your other piece. So for time's sake, I am not going to show you the full set of knots here slowly. I'm just going to keep going. And you guys can keep going too at home if you're following along. We want to keep making our square knots, our spiral knots. They're not a full square. And they're going to keep spinning around. So once you finish this one and keep going and get it as long as you like it, you'll move on to your third set of knots and or third set of ropes, and you'll repeat the same process over here. So because I don't want to take up your whole morning making this whole project, I'm going to move on and teach you guys another type of knot on this third part, and this is a knot that you can use further on down the line. So if you were wanting to make a complete project, you will do the spiral knots at the same length on all 3 of the top ones. Just so I have some more cord to show you guys with though, I'm going to move on to a full square knot. It's really like making a big friendship bracelet. It absolutely is like making a big friendship bracelet. Stephanie loves macrame. Awesome. All right, so now I'm going to go show you guys the full square knot. And I'm not going to lie, it's very similar to the spiral knot. So what you'll do is you'll take your pieces, these are the ones that I had fully bundled up. And just like we did with the other ones, we're going to take 2 middle ropes and then a rope on the left side and a rope on the right side. We are going to start the exact same way that we started with our spiral knots. I'm sorry, I just realized you couldn't see anything that I was doing. So got my 2 middle pieces, my right side and my left side. So we are going to take our right side, we're going to do the same knot that we've been doing. Make that backwards 4, bring the left one over the top, wrap it underneath the right rope and back around the 2 middle ones, and then pull it through the little angle of the 4, and we're going to make it nice and tight up here at the top. So now we're going to repeat the same process, but we are going to lead with our left rope. So instead of doing a backwards 4 this time, we're going to do a real life 4. So we're going to bend it over here, make our 4 cross over our 2 middle pieces. We're going to take our right rope this time, bring it in front, and then loop it back behind, pull through, and tighten it up. And we have a full complete square knot. So as you can see, it looks like a little square here. And this one, if we keep going, is not going to spiral like the other ones because we completed the square knot instead of kind of doing that half square knot. So it's all going to stay flat. So again, we're going to make a 4 with our right piece. We're leading with the right. And if you get confused on your square knot, wherever the piece is that's in front here, that's the side you're going to start on. So in my little square here, I hope you can see that. My little square, this right side is in the front, so I'm going to lead with the right. So we're going to make our backwards 4. We're going to take the left piece over the right piece. We're going to bring it back behind and then through the loop of the 4 and pull it nice and tight. And you'll see that the front part of the square has moved to the left side. So now we'll lead with the left. We'll make a forwards 4, not a backwards 4. Cross over those 2 middle pieces. Take our right side over the left, back behind the middle, and pull it tight. And it's our front facing square is back on the right side, so now we're leading with the right. We're going to do the knot that we have at this point hopefully become at least first level experts on. And then my tape came loose. We are going to take our left side and reverse our square knot. Back on this side, I'm going to lead with the right, come over here, take it around. Now I'm leading with the left, take the right in front, back behind the 2 middle, through the 4, and pull it tight. and you'll see I have my spiral here, and then I have my flat one here. So you can do either one for your project. Now, at this point, we have at least the start of our first 3 chords, or our first 3 stems. Well, my mom joined in. Hi, Mom. Love you too. Pepper Rhodes, are we going to need access string for the end? Yes, you'll need some extra string at the end. I have another little piece for the end. We're going to do another one of the knots that we did at the very top. Do we do the full square knots further down below the spirals? Yes, we do them further down below the spirals. There's another new comment. Okay, so right now our project, mine looks really crazy, but yours hopefully looks really beautiful. So we have our 3 different stems that we've worked on and we have knots on. I'm going to go back later and I'm going to make this actually look pretty and like a plant hanger, but ideally all of them should look like this one and be the same length. And again, you can be really exact about it, or you can just eyeball them and make them the same length. So our start here definitely is something, but it's not a plant hanger yet, or any kind of hanger, whatever you're using. So in order to create a hanger, we want to kind of make a basket, something that we can place our object in. So as we move down, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to use my flat square knot and my spiral square knot to show you guys this process. So this is where it gets a little bit fun. We're going to take the middle piece, and this is also where you can get creative. If you don't want to make your basket yet, you can make a little gap, and then you can do some flat. You can take a little gap and then make some flat square knots here and make this string longer before you start to make your basket, or you can start to cross over and make your basket. Again, you can be really creative with this and have a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to take 2 pieces from one stem, a middle piece and an outside piece, and then I'm going to take 2 from the other stem, a middle and an outside, and we are going to start to make some knots with this one. So this time we're not going to make as many knots, and one thing that can kind of help is just so you know where to put your knot, because we're not butting them up against anything. They're kind of going to be suspended in the middle. So you can put a piece of tape here that'll kind of help you gauge where your pieces are going to be. So this time we're just going to make regular square knots. We're going to complete this square. So we're going to do our backwards 4, cross the left over the right, back through, and we're going to pull it tight, but not too tight because we don't want it to go all the way up. And then we're going to do our left-sided square knot. We have one nice little square. I like to do 2 in my middle pieces, but if you want, you could just do 1 complete square knot. It's totally up to you. The best part about this is you can be really creative with it and make it your own. So I did my little set of 2 square knots there, and you can see if I undo this tape now, we started to make a basket. So you'll want to go through and do that with all of your different pieces. So you'll take the other 2 stems from this piece, and you'll take 2 from the piece we haven't touched yet, and you'll make a square knot at the same length with those ones. So just so we can kind of see how this is coming together, I'll go ahead and do that for you guys. I mentioned this already, but I'm not a teacher, so I'm so sorry if this is really hard to follow along, but I hope you're getting the gist at the very least, I hope that you've learned the basic knots. That way you can kind of be creative and decide what knots you want to do on your own project and keep on making a macrame. So I'm just going to take another piece of tape and I'm going to tape it off so that my knots will be at the same length here on the second one. And I'm going to repeat the process and do a set of 2 complete square knots. I'm sorry I'm going quick for this part. It's the knots that we've been practicing, so hopefully you've been able to catch on. But if you're still struggling, that's okay. It's totally normal. You can always go back after I finish this video and watch from the beginning and practice some of the knots that I do. You can also look on YouTube. There are tons of teachers on YouTube. And some of them are really good at teaching and explaining. I'm doing my best. Hopefully you guys are catching on. So now we have the 2 different pieces are connected. So I'll lift up my hanger and you can see we've started to make a basket by connecting the cords together. And you'll just go down and do that as many times as you'd like, taking 2 from each side and then knotting them together using a full square knot. If you want to, you could also do spiral square knots here. Like I said earlier, this is really where you can be as creative as you want. And then at the very end, I like to finish them off with a nice wrap knot. But another way to knot them is you can just take the whole thing and do, if you didn't quite catch on to the wrap knot, you take the whole thing and kind of pull it together and do just a nice simple knot down at the bottom. I didn't tie that very tight, but you get the gist. So this is my very messy demo hanger. But again, I just kind of wanted to show you some of the different knots that we can do. When you tie it off, you can do a big knot like this, or you can do a wrap knot like we did at the top. And someone asked, do you have an example of what we're making? I do. I actually made one yesterday, but I didn't do the spiral knots like I did with you all. So now I'm just going to show you guys a few examples of different plant hangers. So this is one that I did yesterday. You can see where I did, I just did regular knots up here at the top, but today we did the spiral knots because I think they're really fun. And then you leave some spaces and then you do your little sets of square knots. For these ones, I did 3 separate square knots instead of 2 separate square knots. So they're a little bit longer. So for this one, I did 1 gap and then I did another one. I did a second gap and then I did another set. And then down here at the bottom is where I started to make the basket. And this one is just an example of a plant hanger. But as I said, you don't have to use your macrame just for plants. And then again, I did the wrap knot down at the bottom. And if you missed the wrap knot, that was the first step that I did. So when I wrap up the video, you can go back and you can re-watch. Now, another example of a really cool macrame hanger is this one. I didn't make this one. I'm not this good. I got this one online, but and it still has the tag on it. But you can see that there's a dowel here, and then this one has really intricate knots. But again, these are all the different types of knots that you can learn in Girl Scouting. And then it has a basket down here for a plant. And again, they just took the different cords and they square knotted them to start to make their basket. So that's another example of a more intricate plant hanger once you kind of start to get the gist of it. I have one more example, and this one is an example of using a macrame hanger for something other than a plant, because not everyone has houseplants. You can also definitely put a fake plant in here. If you don't have a green thumb, that's totally okay. You can definitely put a fake plant in it, but mine has a disco ball. And I keep this on my sun porch, and I just think it's really fun. So I have my macrame hanger with my disco ball, and then this one is really fun too because they actually put some beads in. So you can see here, they did a square knot, a full square, and then they put the bead on the two middle pieces, and then they did a square knot underneath it. So if you have any beads, it would be really cool to incorporate some different beads in your hangers and things like that. So you don't have to use your macrame for plants. Another example of what you can use it for is a disco ball, because every day should be a party. So, like I said, I taught you guys the basics. Just for sake of time, I'm not going to finish up the plant hanger with you guys, or whatever you want to use it for, your disco ball hanger. But you guys keep chugging away, keep doing those knots, and finish off your hanger, because step 4 of the Textile Artist badge is to create something for everyday use. And you can create an object that can be used in your home. So the reason I decided to do a macrame hanger with you guys is because it's functional. You can use it in your home for disco balls or plants or whatever you want. So if you keep on going and finish this off, then you will complete step 4 of the Textile Artist badge, make something for everyday use. And then step 5 for this badge is create a gift or item for a special occasion. Again, this one is not covered in the workshop, but you guys can use the techniques that I've taught you. You can go back and rewatch this video and kind of practice some of these knots, and you can create a gift hanger for someone else. I think that today I may make a hanger and walk it across the street and leave it on my neighbor's porch. She really loves plants, and she's been working on her garden lately. And I think everyone could use a little pick-me-up, a little smile right now. So here in Ohio, we are under lockdown, but I think that I could easily walk across the street to my neighbor's house and just leave it on her porch with a little note, and hopefully it will make her smile. So that is how I'm going to complete step 5 of the badge, creating a gift for someone else. You could also create one and give it to your teacher when you get to go back to school as kind of a thank you. I know I have a lot of teacher friends that are doing really awesome things, doing digital story time and things like that. You can make it for your Girl Scout leader. You can make it for your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, whoever you want. So you can use the steps that I have given you and create a present for someone else. Make them smile. If it's someone that doesn't live near you, you could either ask an adult's help to mail it to them or wait until after quarantine is over. We want to practice good social distancing. I'm going to just catch up on the questions. Pepper said, how many feet of rope did you need for that one? So for the last wrap knot, this is probably about, I'm not good at eyeballing measurements, but maybe 2.5 feet. Honestly, what I do is when I finish a hanger and I cut the ends off, I save them, and then I use those for wrap knots on other projects. That way I'm using my resources wisely, a Girl Scout characteristic, and creating or using this to make something pretty for another project. So Anna thinks that looks so pretty. Thank you so much, Anna. I had a lot of fun making it. I used nylon rope because that's all we had. I would use cotton next time because it would unravel a little. I like knot tying. Thank you so much for teaching. Savannah, thank you so much for joining. I don't think that I've used nylon rope before, but I like that you're using whatever you have at home. And one thing that I'll show you guys is the cord that I'm using does unravel really well at the ends. So I kind of like the look at the very end when you're trimming the bottom. You can either cut them all to the same length, but I like to kind of vary them a little bit so they're all different lengths. And then I just start to unwrap the little pieces, and it kind of looks like a little pom-pom at the bottom. I don't know, it's totally up to you. You can do whatever fits your style. I've seen some people put a knot at the bottom, so you can just do a simple knot at the bottom. Whatever kind of floats your boat, floats your fancy. You can make it look however you want because it's your project. I meant for the actual project, I used 6 6-foot cords, and that is in the description of the video as well. Thank you so much. I had a little background doing this, so it wasn't hard for me to do it all. And the same, I have way too many plants. Christine, that's so exciting. I have too many plants too. Thank you for teaching us. You're welcome. All right, I'm going to sign off, but please tune in later on today. We have a very exciting workshop for ambassador girls. We're going to do ambassador first aid. You don't have to be an ambassador to join in, but it'll be a really cool workshop. And if you're not a Girl Scout, but you tuned in and you really enjoyed this, make sure you check out girlscouts.org/join to figure out how you can join a troop near you and do lots of other awesome Girl Scout projects like this. So I hope you all had fun with me. Thanks for spending your Saturday morning crafting with me, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye!